What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of showmefootball.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs trade talk is getting absolutely insane. We'll talk about why that is right after this. Ladies and gentlemen of the Chiefs Kingdom, welcome back into another Kansas City Chiefs related video here on Show Me Football. Before we get into today's video topic, I kindly ask you all to please like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. Make sure you go ahead and hit that notification bell as well for future Chiefs content. But without further ado, let's get into today's video topic. So guys, the Kansas City Chiefs trade rumors are just absolutely crazy right now. We got more news today about who the Kansas City Chiefs could potentially be trading off their team. We talked a lot about in previous weeks, who the Kansas City Chiefs could trade for. I made a video last week about potential trade targets. You guys kind of get the gist of that at this point. They need a defensive lineman. They could go after a running back. We know what the needs are. You've heard some of the names, and we'll kind of rehash some of those in this video. But we got a tidbit today, and this is from Chiefs Blitz on X, Christian Fulton and Joshua Williams are potential trade candidates for the Chiefs, and that's per Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. So Christian Fulton and Joshua Williams, a pair of cornerbacks, are now potentially being shopped around the league to see what the Kansas City Chiefs could get in return for those guys. And this is very interesting. Christian Fulton is the first one that kind of stands out because that was the guy that they gave a 2-year, $20 million contract to in the offseason. And that's a pretty substantial investment in a depth cornerback on your team that's not really playing right now. Brett Veach typically doesn't spend much on the cornerback position, but he went out and he splurged a little bit on Christian Fulton. He was expected to help out this team, but he's been a healthy scratch the past couple of weeks. And a lot of that has to do with the emergence of rookie cornerback Noah Williams, who's been playing absolutely fantastic. And then you have Joshua Williams, who was mentioned in there, and there was some chatter of him maybe getting traded before the season during roster cut downs, maybe for a late round pick swap or something like that. Nothing ever materialized, but his name's getting floated out there again. But the big one really is Christian Fulton, because that's news to a lot of us. And, my first reaction when I saw that is, okay, it does make sense. Why? Because clearly he's not getting on the field. He's been a healthy scratch. That's one that we've kind of discussed as surprising and disappointing. But if he's not going to play for you, it would make sense to get off that 2-year, $20 million contract and dangle him in front of a team that's desperate for cornerback help, because Christian Fulton is not a bad player. I mean, he's really not. He struggled to stay healthy so far for the Kansas City Chiefs, but he was really good last year for the Los Angeles Chargers. Before that, he had a really nice stint in Tennessee. Like, he's a good man coverage corner. He can pressure at the line. I mean, he's not a bad player. He's not. But the Kansas City Chiefs have found themselves in a situation where Noah Williams is now more of a luxury. Well, to be paying $20 million to a luxury is kind of a bad investment when you have other desperate needs on this team. So again, it makes sense why the Chiefs would be looking to trade him. And I do think there probably is a little bit of a market for him out there, again, for a team that's desperate for cornerback help. But, trading Christian Fulton is really interesting to me, because trading him could potentially open up a path to the Kansas City Chiefs addressing multiple needs on this team. So we discussed the Omar Norman Lott injury that just happened. He's out for the season with a torn ACL. I made a video about that the other day reacting to it. But the Kansas City Chiefs were in a market for a defensive lineman before the Omar Norman Lott injury. And so with his injury, and he was an up-and-coming pass rusher on this team, a team that really has struggled to get to the quarterback this year, my first reaction after that was, you need to go out and probably get multiple defensive linemen now. I think you need a D-tackle. I think you need a defensive end. We know the Chiefs have been looking at edges. They've been looking at defensive tackles. I think you have to make multiple moves there. But it's really hard when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs cap space, because they only have a little bit of cap space. I think they have around $5 million. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, but that's enough space to make a move. Probably not much more than a singular move. Well, I think the Kansas City Chiefs need to make more than a singular move at this point, which is why the Christian Fulton potential trade now coming into play is really fascinating to me. Because if you get rid of him, that opens up a lot of money. And you could also potentially get a player back for Christian Fulton. Like, I think there's enough value there where you could swap him maybe for a running back off another team or something like that. There's a lot of different possibilities now if we're talking about trading Christian Fulton. So, in my opinion, while I would hate to see Christian Fulton go because the Chiefs' cornerback depth was something that got tested last year and it wasn't very good, and I thought the Christian Fulton signing was kind of because of that. Now, I'm a little bit nervous to get rid of that cornerback depth. I understand you have Noel Williams now, who you drafted afterwards, and sometimes that's just kind of what happens. But still, I think he would be nice to have around in case Jalen Watson were to get hurt again, or if Noel Williams is to encounter some sort of slump or something like that. I just think it would be nice to have that cornerback depth. You didn't have it last year. It really hurt you, especially in the Super Bowl. But at the same time, I weigh what's more important, and the Chiefs badly need defensive line help. They also badly need a running back still, in my opinion. And if a Christian Fulton trade could open up the possibility to addressing both needs while maybe letting go of the luxury of having Christian Fulton, then I think I'm in favor of that. Now, I have a few more specific thoughts on this that I want to get into, but before I talk about those, I do want to show you all a message from our partners on this channel. So before anything else, let's go ahead and check that out. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys have not heard of W Energy, then you are absolutely missing out right now, as W Energy has taken the energy drink market by storm with their new unique flavors and jitterless energy blend. W Energy is a powered energy drink that replaces other inferior caffeine beverages. It contains 0 harmful chemicals, 0 fillers, 0 artificial colors or dyes, and no proprietary blends. The star of the show is their coffee fruit extract, which helps you focus without the jitter or crash of other energy drinks out in the market. If you're like me, I've relied on caffeine to get me going about my day in the past, but thanks to W Energy, I now have a new, healthier alternative. And not only that, but it tastes absolutely amazing. They just sent me their new Japanese yuzu flavor, and it's got that sweet citrus fruit taste. It's one of the better tasting energy drinks I've ever had. W Energy is what's been keeping me powered lately, especially throughout this rough stretch for the Kansas City Chiefs. But best of all, guys, you can get an additional 10% off your W order using my promo code down in the description. Go ahead, click that link, go get your W order, and then put in the promo code SHOWMEFB for an additional 10% off. W is absolutely amazing. I love what they've been sending me so far. And best of all, guys, you can go and take advantage of that discount. So go get your W. Go check them out. They're going to be partnered with me all football season long. Ditch the caffeine. Go W. So there you guys have it. Definitely want to go and take advantage of that sale going on right now. Everything is down in the description if you guys want to check out what W has to offer. But let's get back into the video topic. So I have a few more thoughts about just kind of everything going on with the trade rumors right now for the Kansas City Chiefs, kind of wrapping up, putting a bow on my thoughts on Christian Fulton. Again, I would hate to see him go, but there's a conversation we have to have, I think, at this point, if he does end up going, or even if he doesn't get traded, because I don't know if he'll ever be anything more than a healthy scratch. But we need to talk about how Brett Veach keeps bringing in these guys that Steve Spagnuolo doesn't have a plan for. There seems to be a major disconnect between general manager and coaching staff. You know, Joshua Uche, Christian Fulton. Hell, you could even argue Felix Anudike-Uzama. Just guys that are square pegs trying to be fit in round holes in Steve Spagnuolo's scheme. Players that we just can't seem to find a role for, and they go somewhere else and they look really good. Christian Fulton is just another weird case, man, where Brett Veach says, hey, I'm going to go out and get this guy, shows a commitment to improving an area on the team, and Steve Spagnuolo just doesn't want to do it. He's stuck in his ways. So I don't know. That's kind of something that I think we need to look at closer, especially if this ends up materializing. But it is what it is at this point. You can't force Steve Spagnuolo to play a guy. And to Steve Spagnuolo's credit, I mean, the secondary has been good, and it's not like the cornerbacks have been bad, but I just hate that they weren't able to find a role for him because I really liked that signing in the offseason. Now, I also want to talk about another tweet, and this is from Tucker D. Franklin on Twitter, but he also quotes a Jeremy Fowler article saying that the Chiefs are listed as team fits for both Breece Hall, running back for the New York Jets, and Jalen Phillips, edge for the Miami Dolphins. These are two guys we talked about in my video from last week, talking about potential Chiefs trade candidates, but I ended that video by asking you guys what's more important, pass rush or running back, or defensive line or running back at this point. I think most of you guys said defensive line. I think running back was something that we could survive without. But I said, why survive? Why just survive when you can go out and get someone that really takes this offense to another level? And offense has already been doing very well. But I think there's going to be a time where you're going to have to run the ball effectively, and you can't just run the ball from under center because that's the only thing Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt can do. But it's really hard to envision that with the Chiefs' current cap situation, their current roster situation, Brett Veach not loving to give up draft capital midseason. If you trade Christian Fulton, again, I think that opens the door to the possibility that you can address both. And boy, would I love Breece Hall and Jalen Phillips on this team. I think Breece Hall gives you the explosiveness you need in the offensive backfield. I think Jalen Phillips is a guy that gets you those quick pressures from the edge position. I don't think the Chiefs have gotten enough from the edge position. I think the George Karlaftis contract is starting to look a little bit questionable. Jalen Phillips is a dude, though. He's a guy, if Brett Veach could get his hands on him, I think this team's pass rush would be in a lot better place. But that still means you would need a defensive tackle. And I hate the fact that the Omar Norman line injury would keep these from happening. But of course, you still need a defensive tackle. Trading Christian Fulton, I think that makes it to where you could also go and get a defensive tackle. And I did want to mention a couple names on that. Colin Saunders is an obvious one that comes to mind. You guys know how I'm sick of the Chiefs reunions with players that clearly aren't good enough for anywhere else. Colin Saunders has been a healthy scratch for Jacksonville, but I would let that one slide at this point. You're desperate. I don't think he would cost very much at all. But if that's a move that you make, I would love to see the Chiefs go out and get yet another defensive tackle because Derek Nottie doesn't need to be on the field. Jerry Tillery is defensive tackle number 4 at best. Okay, you go and get Colin Saunders. You still have one of the worst defensive tackle rooms in the league behind Chris Jones. Go and get Calais Campbell on top of it, who's not really making anything, and I don't think would cost much to acquire. Go and get someone that really brings some juice. Check in on Christian Wilkins in free agency. Man, if the Chiefs are able to do that, I will be satisfied. I think you could pencil them in for the Super Bowl. I mean, if we're talking about Colin Saunders, Christian Wilkins, Jalen Phillips, Breece Hall, all being on this team after the trade deadline, I'd be one happy man. Do I think that's realistic? Probably not, but I would love to see it happen. But I definitely want to hear from you guys down in the comments below what you think some of the possibilities now are if Christian Fulton, gets traded, if the Kansas City Chiefs will be able to address all their needs effectively at the trade deadline, what you would like to see them do. Let's get some discourse going down below. All that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. Make sure you go and check out my work on showmefootball.com for more. Last but not least, follow the Twitter at showmefb. That's all I got for you guys in this one. I'll see you all in the next one. And as always, go Chiefs!